Warcraft. A realm ravaged by war between the human alliance, the Orcish horde, and both the living and the undead. A world pushed to the brink of destruction by the demonic forces of the Burning Legion and relentless harbingers of cataclysm. Yet, even in the darkest hours, hope has shined in the hearts of Azeroth's legendary champions. Time and again, their brave sacrifices have saved the world from the clutches of evil. Today, millions of players carry on this charge in the world of Warcraft, safeguarding the vast realms of Azeroth and beyond, forging bonds that transcend the game's virtual boundaries. Like Azeroth itself, the Warcraft universe is part of a constant cycle of change and growth that began over a decade ago with one game and one dream to bring to life a realm of magic and wonder that would captivate generations to come. The foundation of the Warcraft universe was set when Blizzard Entertainment invited players to Azeroth for the first time with Warcraft, Orcs and Humans in November 1994. This real-time strategy game was quickly followed by Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness in December 1995. Orcs and Humans and Tides of Darkness chronicled the Orcish horde's rampage across Azeroth and the mighty alliance that arose to stem the brutal invasion. In 1996, Warcraft 2's expansion pack, Beyond the Dark Portal, unveiled the Orcs' homeworld of Draenor, a mysterious realm that would reappear in World of Warcraft. Draenor wasn't the only glimpse of things to come. Memorable races and characters made their debut in Blizzard's early Warcraft titles and became firmly etched in the franchise's mythos. Despite limited technology, these games contained the elements that would come to define Warcraft. Multiplayer support, unique game mechanics, story-driven cutscenes, a distinct art style, captivating cinematics, and a host of units, each with their own distinct personalities. Each of the early Warcraft games went on to win numerous awards, and by the release of Beyond the Dark Portal, Azeroth was truly coming into its own. In 1996, Blizzard began expanding the franchise with Warcraft Adventures, Lord of the Clans, an adventure game that told of Thrall's rise from slave to horde warchief and the profound impact he would have on the world of Azeroth. After a series of setbacks, this ambitious project was put on indefinite hold in 1998. But all was not lost. Thrall's story was too crucial to remain untold. To give the story the attention it deserved, Blizzard hired writer Christie Golden to adapt Thrall's tale into the Lord of the Clans novel. This tradition of fleshing out Warcraft's rich lore and remarkable characters in fiction would continue in a number of books, penned by authors such as Jeff Grubb and Richard A. Knack, and would later carry on into comics and manga. Some of this fiction would even directly tie into the events of Warcraft games. Using the bitter lessons learned from Lord of the Clans, Blizzard returned to Azeroth with Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, in July 2002, and its expansion, The Frozen Throne, in July 2003. Warcraft 3 returned to the franchise's real-time strategy roots, albeit with a few twists. RPG elements such as items, leveling, and skill points transformed the game into one that defied simple genre conventions. Multiplayer support over Blizzard's online gaming service, Battle.net, also elevated Warcraft 3 to the international esports stage, while its robust map editor fostered a thriving mod community. Warcraft 3's sprawling campaign detailed the Burning Legion's invasion of Azeroth and the creation of the Undead Scourge. Through seamlessly integrated cutscenes, key characters such as Sylvanas, Illidan, and Arthas were introduced to fans for the first time. As the epic story unfolded, some of the game's heroes attained salvation, while others suffered damnation. Also present were races such as the Tauren, Night Elves, and even Murlocs. Warcraft 3's rich story and innovative gameplay brought the franchise to new heights, but Azeroth's most stunning transformation was yet to come. As players witnessed Prince Arthas's dark descent to becoming the Lich King, developers were reforging Azeroth into a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, a living, breathing world where players would hold the fate of Azeroth in their own hands. After years of polishing, World of Warcraft was released in November 2004. The game was hotly anticipated prior to release, but its actual reception was beyond Blizzard's wildest dreams. World of Warcraft sold over 240,000 copies in the first 24 hours of release, setting a new day-one PC game sales record. Unlike previous Warcraft games, World of Warcraft allowed players to create their own unique character from a variety of races and classes, many of which had been established in previous Warcraft titles. As players formed guilds, quested with friends, and progressed through World of Warcraft's 60 levels, a flood of free content patches expanded Azeroth even more. Some of these patches unveiled new dungeons, like the ancient caverns of Meridon and the tainted corridors of Dire Maul. Others had gamers put their skills to the test in player-versus-player combat with the new honor system and battlegrounds. Yet this new content wasn't always focused on combat. A number of patches introduced entertaining world events like Darkmoon Faire and Hallow's End. Each patch built upon the last, improving graphics, balancing gameplay, and adding even more complex dungeons for players who had climbed their way to level 60. Patches 1.9 and 1.11, however, would set a new precedent for what could be done in the game. In the gates of Ahn'Qiraj, entire servers worked together through a series of quests and events that culminated in the opening of Ahn'Qiraj, a mysterious city harboring an evil from Azeroth's distant past. In the Shadow of the Necropolis patch, a global scourge invasion heralded the coming of Naxxramas, a floating fortress where adventurers would face some of the Lich King's most terrifying minions. By the close of 2005, World of Warcraft's active players had exploded to more than 5 million, a population greater than that of Norway. With the release of Zul'Gurub in patch 1.7, a mysterious plague spread throughout Azeroth. The pandemic was never intended by developers, but soon researchers began studying the effects of the plague and applying what they learned to future real-world outbreaks. As Warcraft took the world by storm, people from all walks of life were soon drawn together in the realm of Azeroth. In October 2005, the first BlizzCon was held in Anaheim, California. The event showcased exclusive playable demos and became center stage for esports tournaments. Warcraft 3's esports scene was still thriving, and at BlizzCon 2005, a tournament was held to test the mettle of the world's top players. But competition wasn't BlizzCon's only draw. The convention also became a nexus for World of Warcraft's burgeoning community, a place where friends and guildmates from Azeroth could meet in the real world. For World of Warcraft players, some of BlizzCon's most appealing aspects were game announcements and previews. In 2005, attendees got their first taste of World of Warcraft's next expansion, the Burning Crusade. Over the next year, work progressed on the next expansion. By the end of 2006, World of Warcraft's active players had reached over 8 million, more than the population of Switzerland. Shortly after achieving this milestone, the Burning Crusade was released in January 2007. Nearly 2.4 million copies were sold in the first 24 hours, setting a new day-one PC game sales record and surpassing World of Warcraft's original sales figures.
Can't wait to play it.
With Burning Crusade, the shattered world of Outland that was introduced in Beyond the Dark Portal was opened to players. Along with the stunning new areas of this strange world, flying mounts, new battlegrounds, complex boss encounters, and a new level cap of 70 were introduced. In addition, player-versus-player arenas made their debut and quickly spawned a competitive esports community in World of Warcraft. Professional gaming teams were formed, and much like Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft arena matches soon became anticipated fixtures at BlizzCon and Blizzard's worldwide invitationals. 2 new races were also added to the Horde and the Alliance, Blood Elves and Draenei. Each race had their own distinct lore. The Burning Crusade's main villain was Illidan, a wayward night elf whose thirst for power would present players with their greatest challenge yet.
You are not prepared!
Carrying on World of Warcraft's tradition of an ever-expanding world, Illidan's final stand was released in the Black Temple patch. Over the following year, other patches introduced a host of new content, from guild banks to the troll warlord Zul'jin and his diabolical fortress of Zul-Aman. These additions culminated in the Fury of the Sunwell patch, which included a sprawling new Sunwell Plateau dungeon, where players could face the Burning Legion's ruthless leader, Kil'jaeden the Deceiver. Outside the game, Warcraft expanded into a number of different mediums. In 2007, the World of Warcraft trading card game was released. The TCG was the newest addition to a long line of Warcraft products, including highly detailed figures. This tradition of quality merchandise would continue with more exciting releases in the years to come. But the driving force behind these products remained World of Warcraft. For the game's next expansion, one of the franchise's most infamous characters would take center stage. An undead terror whose creation in Warcraft 3 began a legacy of pain and suffering on Azeroth, the Lich King. At BlizzCon 2007, the Wrath of the Lich King expansion was officially announced.
Tonight!
In the year that followed, developers worked feverishly on what they hoped would be World of Warcraft's most groundbreaking expansion yet. In addition to raising the level cap to 80, Wrath of the Lich King would invite adventurers to the frozen continent of Northrend and introduce Warcraft's first hero class, the Death Knight. A new technique called phasing, where certain areas change based on what quests a player has completed, was also put to use. Phasing had come about in the Burning Crusade. From its innocuous discovery, the scope of World of Warcraft changed forever. On November 13th, 2008, Wrath of the Lich King was released. One-day sales rose to over 2.8 million copies, trouncing the Burning Crusade's previous record. After the release, active players jumped to over 11.5 million, a population greater than that of Greece. Wrath of the Lich King's stream of content patches presented new game mechanics, such as dual spec and UI improvements. These patches also allowed players to unearth the mysteries of the ancient Titan city of Ulduar, prove their worth at the Argent Tournament and Crusaders Colosseum, and finally, face the Lich King in the frigid halls of Icecrown Citadel. By Wrath of the Lich King's release, World of Warcraft had firmly established itself as a pop culture phenomenon. TV shows such as PBS, Stargate Atlantis, and South Park referenced the game. In 2006, World of Warcraft TV spots began airing that featured the likes of William Shatner, Ozzy Osbourne, and Mr. T. 2006 was also the year that Blizzard announced a Warcraft movie in the works. By 2010, players had succeeded in storming Icecrown Citadel and ending the Lich King's reign of terror. At long last, one of Azeroth's greatest foes was vanquished. But the world was not destined to enjoy lasting peace. As players braved the frozen wastes of Northrend, developers were hard at work crafting the game's most ambitious expansion to date, Cataclysm. Instead of adding an entirely new continent or world like previous expansions, this time, Azeroth itself would be transformed. Deathwing, a corrupted dragon aspect whose character had been developed in previous fiction and games, would emerge as the force responsible for Azeroth's violent alteration. Building on game mechanics from previous expansions, Cataclysm would feature new professions, more robust phasing elements and story progression, and two new races, the cursed Worgen of Gilneas and the embattled goblins of the Bilgewater Cartel. With Cataclysm, Warcraft is once again on the cusp of a new age, carrying on the tradition of innovation established over a decade ago with orcs and humans. Yet, despite the radical events about to unfold on Azeroth, the story of Warcraft's valiant heroes and captivating realms has only just begun.